Okay, I'm going again. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a very big special episode. My name. Oh boy.
Yeah,
What
careful.
is my name?
Don't do a spoiler.
Yeah. I'm the number one Christopher Nolan fanboy. Trust now.
I am the catching the bullet, Taylor Field.
Just goes for the spoilers right
Yeah.
away. I'm the Cobb is in a dream. No. So that's all jokes aside. So what we're doing for Tenet, obviously, we're doing this for Tenet and New Mutants and other movies down the line. Obviously, the world's in a weird place, and we in Canada, and as far as the pandemic and whatnot, our place is doing a lot better where we live, so our theaters are open. We're getting the new theaters. Some people are getting this September 4th, like in America, and even then, they don't know when they're getting it. So what we're doing is, because we know we have a lot of American listeners, that for New Mutants and Tenet, which you're listening to right now, this is the non-spoilers. You're going to get nothing. We joked about some hints, but we're honestly not going to, because we don't want to do that. That's why we're recording this not live as well. It's pre-recorded, so if we even slip, I'll edit it. It's gone. So, see right there, that could have been a slip. You didn't even know. So it'll be gone. And then tomorrow, if you're listening to this live, there'll be a spoilers review with Taylor, myself, and Dylan Musk. And then New Mutants will just be me and Taylor for New Mutants and spoilers. That'll go up. And then in the next little bit, we got Avengers coming up. We got Mulan. We got The Boys. Are you ready? Talking about catching a bull. You ready to catch these fists? September 12th. You gotta be professional now. But
Before I dig into that, I just need to double check. Are we gonna do a non-spoilers for New Mutants or just the spoilers? Just
no,
okay.
Non-spoilers, because there's
cool.
people that don't even like people like Chris on Marvel Alliance. His theaters aren't open, so he can't even see it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. But yeah, no, I'm gonna get the Dukes up for the September the 12th. I
He's
feel
not
like there
ready.
was something else important happening on September 12th. Must have.
Did you
I
call
don't
the
know.
hospital and tell them you're gonna need a room after our wrestling match?
No, but I might have to call the cops because it's gonna get a little rowdy.
No, it's
I
signed.
have to have them
contract, signed
pull me
contract.
off.
So let's get in this. And me and Taylor actually we saw Scare, but I haven't talked. We haven't talked about this at all. What did you feel about this movie overall? And then I'll hit you with some questions. Non-spoiler questions, of course.
The whole going into this leading.
This is gonna be a tough one.
This
This
is
really
gonna be really tough.
Did
So-
you like it? Yes or no?
Oh yeah.
So okay, so you got a thumbs up.
That's a thumbs
I
up.
say let's start with this. Let's do something rare. Out of 10, as just right now, we literally just got a theater 10 minutes ago. Where are you out of a rating?
I'd probably go like a 6 or a 7.
Whoa.
But I mean,
he hates Christopher Nolan.
No. Like I mean, maybe that's being a little bit too like preemptive. I'd probably go like
But let's see if it changes tomorrow.
it would definitely change tomorrow, being able to vent it out. But I mean, based on how I feel right now, I honestly feel like I need to watch this like a second and third time.
100%.
Because there's so much that has happened and transpired that I don't fully understand. And I was walking out the theater with Madison, and she's like, I don't know what I just watched. And I'm like, I don't
felt like
know
that
either.
GIF where the lady's seeing all the numbers and whatnot. I'm enjoying
Yeah.
what's happening, but I don't know why. It's like the first time you masturbate. Continue.
Wow, that's after 9 topic for sure.
It is after 9. It's 9:09
It is after
here.
9.
Yeah,
Oh boy. But yeah, the going through and watching all the trailers for this movie, like I wanted to get excited for the film, but I felt like I couldn't really because I didn't know what I was really watching. But then sure enough, watching this film and then being able to kind of connect certain dots, like, okay, this kind of makes sense a little bit. And then when one event would happen, it would be like a chain reaction domino effect, because then I could pinpoint certain things happening throughout the rest of the film, which I liked because then I could kind of follow along and clue into what was going on. I think I do understand the general story of what was happening, and I understand like the plot, and they explain things very well. There's only one thing that happened in the film which I don't understand, and I don't know if they intentionally had left it open or they were gonna come back to that, but I feel like they left it open and it segued with another moment in the film.
Well, that's the problem, because we talked about Inception, where sometimes it feels like it's either did they leave this open, did they, and I don't even know what he's talking about, because I have things like this too, so there's not one specific moment in this film, just like, did they leave it open? Is there something I missed, or is this just a plot hole? And you don't really know until, like, obviously once we watch them again, but even with Inception, when we talk about it in a retrospective, there's things that I feel I see clearly, but then like Jessica will be like, well, that doesn't make sense, and I don't really get it, and that doesn't work for me. So I feel like this film, I feel like the way people picked apart the time travel in Endgame and how time works, I feel like they're gonna have a heyday with this movie.
Well, they're gonna blow their brains out.
It's just crazy. So, do you have anything more on overalls? Would you recommend it? I have more questions.
I mean, if you have an open mind, I'd recommend it. I mean, if you're a very dogmatic, narrow point of view, I mean, you're probably not gonna enjoy this film. I have to say though, like visually and cinematically, like I loved it. I was having
especially in the theater, like not, and this is not to like jump on anyone's grave if they have to see this in a drive or something, but like. The last new movie I saw was Birds of Prey. That was the last movie I saw. Or sorry, I guess it was Invisible Man, but still, Birds of Prey I saw last because I saw it again with Emily. And just since then, we've seen like Star Wars and Nightmare on Elm Street, but like those were all great in a different sense. But it was good having that rush again of you don't know literally what's coming. It did feel weird because even today, I honestly wasn't excited to the movie till we sat down. Even then, I wasn't that excited because I think it's just been delayed so much. It's just like. You reach that level of hype, and then it's just like, okay, it's almost there, and it's like, well, it's just here now. That's what it felt like today when you're like excited, like Dylan said to him, like, yeah, I guess, but it's just like because we're seeing it like on a Wednesday randomly, like I haven't planned for this, like so it was a good experience, but a weird experience seeing a new movie because it's been 6 months since
the masturbating.
Exactly, just like the masturbating. Big topic in this movie. No, there's nothing like that. It's PG-13. Don't worry.
Was it actually PG-13?
Yeah. All his movies are except for I think Memento and Insomnia, and then after that, I know Insomnia for sure. Memento, I can't remember.
This is a spoiler, but are curse words allowed in PG-13 movies?
You get one F word for every PG-13.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to rewatch and count all the curse words.
Wow. So yeah, I'm similar as Taylor as far as I get what they're going for. There's things I for sure need to watch again. I don't know when I'll watch it again because numbers are lower here for the pandemic, but I still try not to risk it as much. So like I think I will see it again. I think they're doing the drive-through in Kelowna. I like to see that, but that's one minor complaint. But just on and this is something I can talk about non-spoilers. I felt like sometimes, and this happened a lot in The Dark Knight Rises. The sound was so loud, I couldn't hear what the characters
it happened
were saying.
multiple times.
And I hate that. That's one critique I have of Nolan is there's two things. One is like fighting action. He still doesn't shoot the best. And the second thing is that happened a lot in Dark Knight Rises, but it wasn't always just because people, Bane's voice or Batman's voice. It's just sometimes like the sound mixing is just everything's so loud. And it's not a big spoiler. There's just one moment where these characters are on a boat, and the boat is so loud. And you have multiple characters with so many different accents going on. You got like Robert Pattinson's British, you got the American, you got a Scottish guy over here. You have like a really low English guy. You're like, I don't know what is like.
I think he's going for like the 4D effect because my clothes were shaking on my body.
Oh yeah, and that's cool when like there's an action. It's like I felt the seats like vibrate, but sometimes I found it more at the beginning half of the movie. It tapered off there sometimes, but I'd say in that first hour, a lot of instances where I couldn't just hear the characters, and that's why I can't actually wait to watch this with subtitles. I feel it's a great subtitles movie, so I'm excited.
You can request those little visors for closed captions.
I wouldn't want that the first time because I do so much now with kids, but. Overall, I really, really liked it, but this is where I need to watch it again, and I think I will enjoy it, but I think it is more in that Interstellar category where Batman Begins not so much, but Dark Knight Rises, Prestige, and an Inception, all when I saw those movies, and they end, and wow, I think this is my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. Something like Dark Knight Rises, the next time I saw it, I went, okay, no, it's not, because I had this problem. Prestige and Inception, I always argue back and forth, but those held up. Interstellar was one where I felt better watching this than I did Interstellar. I'll talk about Dunkirk in a second. The other ones I didn't see in theater, so those don't count. But with Interstellar, I really, really like that. And I love, like Taylor's talking about, like, it's just an epic film. Like, even if you hate this movie, I think just, like, the visuals, it's worth seeing for that. The sound editing, like I said, there's joking that is louder, but it's just, like, it's cool. The score is phenomenal. This is the same guy that did Black Panther and Mandalorian. This guy is, because it's not the first time, but I think since The Prestige, he's worked with Hans Zimmer every time, and Hans Zimmer didn't work with him this time, and I can never pronounce his last name, but Ludwig is just like, that guy is just killing it, man. Like, so I love the score. This is like right away, I want to go download that and listen to that. So the score, phenomenal. Hans Zimmer, I won't say it's not missed, but just like, this guy just has such a cool new style. And I love like Black Panther, Mandalorian, and Tenet all feel very different. Like, they have little like connections to him, but they just feel so unique. So that's good. But with Inception and all those other movies I listed, I walked like, wow, this one and Interstellar I like, but when I'm like, not sure, I need to see it again, but I didn't love it like the last few ones. And I kind of feel like this. I feel like this one, it's tough with Dunkirk, because Dunkirk had low expectations because it's a war movie, and I don't really care about war movies, and that blew me away. I think I would rather watch this because this isn't a spoiler we talked about. This is Nolan's James Bond, and I'm a big James Bond fan. It has a lot of those tropes, big action set pieces, kind of like a big mission. I don't want to say what it is, but I think one thing, and like it's not minor spoilers at all, just like I liked the characters, but I didn't connect to the main characters much because I felt like we were maybe missing some personal stakes. You know, like Batman obviously is fighting for the city of Gotham and he lost his parents. Interstellar, he has to get back to his kids. Inception, it's all about same thing, getting back to his kids. Or Interstellar is more like I gotta save the world for my kids. Inception is like I gotta get back to my kids. I felt they have that a little bit in here, but not as much as those other movies. So that's what I'd say as far as I didn't fully connect to that character as far as the other ones, but still, it's a really damn good movie. I thought performances were great. I know we're on the hype right now, so this might be biased, but I'll ask you. I feel like everyone's really good in this, but Robert Pattinson stole the movie for me.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that.
He was so good. Like this, like he reminded me a lot of what is Joseph Gordon-Levitt's name? Arthur. He reminded me a lot of that, but definitely more fleshed out. The way Arthur in Inception is just kind of like a cool character that's Dom's friend. He feels like that at the beginning, and then eventually you learn more and more about him. You're like, oh, this character is great. And Robert Pattinson, yeah, he's just so charismatic. He's really good. And like I said, it's because of the hype of fandom, but I cannot wait for his Batman. We didn't get that trailer. We didn't get Doom. We got the new Wonder Woman one, but he, to me, steals the movie. But everyone's really good in here. John Dave Washington's great. Elizabeth Debicki's great. Kenneth Branagh's good as kind of like the antagonist. There's some scenes in particular I have a problem with his character. Is like, I'd say he is the antagonist, and sometimes I feel he's very serious, but then sometimes he's almost like a little comic booky, so I felt there was like a weird dichotomy there. I liked it for the most part. This is a movie that I'm not like afraid to say, and I think I'll ask you, but like there's definitely times that's why I want to see it again. There was times I was confused, and I feel that even times in Interception and Interstellar, I think Interstellar does a lesser job of it. But in Inception, I felt like there was a lot to take in, but I felt like I got the general concept. I get the general concept of this, but this just felt like it felt like the exposition was not as smooth as Inception. Would you agree with that, or do you just think they like?
I'd
how do
say
you take
not
it?
as smooth. Like I feel like I have a, and I'll go more into depth in the spoilers review because I feel like I have a pretty good like linear grasp on it. Trying to learn
what Tenet is.
That's what Tenet is.
They say you're going to learn about Tenet, and that's
I feel like I got a good grasp in having learned what it is based on how the story is supposed to teach you what it is. And I feel like. I mean, I do have questions, and I do have certain parts where I'm a little confused, but the one thing that I didn't like was that in between their sequences when they're trying to like guide you along so you can kind of follow along and understand, I feel like the transitions weren't smooth and it was very drastic.
Yeah.
And
I felt like the first 45 minutes was almost all exposition. Like there was some cool stuff happening in some action, but like we sometimes meet like 4 or 5 characters that just drop so much information. That's why I think this movie will be better for sure on a second watch for me, and I will like it more because they just dump so much information on you. It's a lot to take in, and not even about the world, just about like this is this character, and they tell you like everything about this character in 5 minutes, and you're like, wow, like it feels like not as bad, but it just feels like this is like the previously on. You've missed some episode before. Like you feel it reminds me a lot of, I don't think you've played many of them, but a Hideo Kojima game where sometimes they just throw a bunch of stuff at you and it eventually makes sense, but you got to think really hard about that. And that's why this is why we're doing the non-spoilers, because we don't got to worry about that right now. But watching it, that's where I felt a second time will be better, because I'll be in a scene, but I'm not fully focused on that scene because I'm thinking about all the stuff we've learned, whether it's the twisty mind stuff or just stuff about the character. Like, you need to know point A, B, and C about this character. You need to know A, B, and C about the villain, stuff like that. So that's where a second watch would be better. But especially the end, I feel like there's tons going on, and they explain a lot.
They do explain a lot, and then you have to recollect your thoughts and backtrack.
Yeah, and it feels like when they explain it, I'm like, hey, I'm on board and we're going. But then once we're actually in motion of it, it's like, I'm starting to get lost again, because you just feel like you're in like a cyclone of information and stuff like that. And because it's Nolan too, you're always like, is this a twist? What's coming up? So I felt like that was done good for the most part, but definitely not as smooth as other movies have been. So is there anything else you want to show?
The score, I'm willing to give it like a 50-50 because like there's a lot of stuff I did like and a lot of other tracks that I wasn't fond of. Maybe it's because I was trying to listen to them talk and I couldn't hear what they were saying because the bass was But I feel like I just did like a whole I binged the Mandalorian show, and I just did a whole binge of the soundtrack on Spotify in anticipation, obviously. But like I'm all about like that soundtrack, and I'm probably gonna go to like do dabble on Black Panther, and then definitely revisit this soundtrack because I need to kind of get the feeling for it. Yeah, I just I obviously the track that was in the trailer is obviously in the movie, and I love that track. That was one of my favorites, and I love that when it popped off on the movie. But I'm trying to like recollect and remember the other tracks, and like I feel like it's because I was trying to pay attention to what they were saying. I can't recall or remember them, so they didn't stand out to me. So, and again, most of like Nolan's soundtracks is just the bass exploding. Yeah, you know.
It happens a couple times in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's always it is a bass explode, but there's always a nice like tune to it or something. And then I think I touched upon this like visually. I think same thing. Even if someone were to sit down and say I completely understand none of this movie, I think action alone they would get. Like, you could put that aside, all the mind stuff, and just enjoy it as an action movie. I think there's great set pieces in here. I won't say which order they're in, but I'll think about tomorrow what I have for spoilers. But I never was bored by action. I feel like definitely the third act of this movie really delivers, but it was always keeping you on your toes. It was like the combination of the stuff going on, but just the way it's shot, and also you've seen from the trailers that it's like people going back in motion at time, and I thought that was done very well. And there's one sequence in particular that felt like a video game sequence where it's like, oh man, here we go. And it reminds me of like, I don't even want to say that. It just reminds me of a sequence of a movie, I'll bring up in spoilers, where it's like, oh, here we go. This is going to get good. And that happens a few times in this. But
is that something I know? Because I'm afraid I might say it now.
What? What do you mean?
You said like a game? Like
No game in particular. It just feels like if you've unlocked something in a game or you're about to go into a big boss battle and you're getting pumped up, like, oh, here we go.
Okay.
That's what there's this moment that felt like in this, where it's like, especially at a time where I wasn't down the movie, but I was a bit more like, okay, like, where are we? What are we doing here? And and then it just kicked in. I was ready to go, and the score kicked in for me. The score for me is like it's like 100% like, honestly. Like, I have no complaints. But yeah, I'm trying to think anything else non-spoilers you want to show.
For me, like, yeah, it's one of those things like if you play Call of Duty Warzone, and not that it's related in any spoiler way to the film, but I mean, if you play the game and you watch this film, you'll understand what I'm saying. If not, you probably won't get it. But like, I know you'll understand. It's just it has moments where like, man, I need to play Warzone right now. Like, I'm getting amped, and I feel like I'm gonna be in Warzone and jump out the back of the plane.
Thought about that. Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. Like, the action sequence as far as the gun toting and whatnot were all good, but Nolan's still good at just getting this intensity out of scenes, and just like, even though there's main characters and you may meet them like the first 5 minutes, you still think they could die at like any point. He's so good at creating that tension that anything could go wrong at any second. So that's still in there, and that's what I mean. Like, I still really, really enjoy this movie, and maybe it's also too just because there's a lot to take in. For me, it's also because, like I said, I kind of got overhyped and then underhyped because it came here. But
that's an interesting thing, and like non-spoilers, like you say, like you feel like anyone could die in this film, and again, I'm treading lightly when I say this. It's something you have to really open your mind, because when you think like, okay, like these certain events could transpire and like, you know, people are dying, you know, is it like I'm not. It's hard to cover it, but you have to have an open mind when you look at it like that, because like it's so I can't even say the word.
I just say it's not black, and nothing in this film is black and white.
No.
But I feel like it's, again, I think people knew this going in, but I think it's the most comparable to Inception. The same way that nothing's in black and white in that, I think you get that from the trailers. And I would definitely say it's in that category, but for me it's like, and this sounds so bad to say, but it's like a lesser than Inception, but that's, to me, like, Inception's a 10 out of 10 movie. It's the same thing, like, I said this on Interstellar, but it's just kind of like, you know, like, what type of movie, like, what type of cup of coffee movie do you like? Like, make my Nolan all the time. Like, if Nolan could track all these movies, like every movie, I'd love it, because all those movies I think are really, really good to great to, like, masterpieces. So, like, even this.
Would you say it's a safe movie?
This? No. What are you referring to, IGN movie?
Yeah.
I could see people saying it's a safe movie as far as it's very Inception-like, where it's you're getting a team together and there's some high sci-fi. But just visually what he's doing, to say this is a safe movie, I don't want to be that guy. That shits on other reviewers, but I just feel like if you look at this and think it's a safe movie and just the scope of it, I don't know. I just feel like you're a little hoity-toity as far as film goes. I just like... I don't know. I don't know what to say to that, but I do not feel it's a safe movie. I feel the amount of risks that are taken as far as just from a visual standpoint. Yeah, people are like, oh well, Nolan's always making visual great stuff. It's like that's like I think people just don't get the concept of how hard it's actually to make a film. So that's why when he still makes a movie like this, that I think is a great movie, it's like this is a guy that's been going since what the following, and it's just like he's putting out great movie after great movie, and it's just like now it's just like I think that's a problem with Nolan now, and I think I gotta have that too because Interstellar and Dunkirk didn't do that for me exactly, but I think it's almost like if it's not Dark Knight or The Inception, it's like oh, it's not as good as the rest of the
Well,
stuff.
it's funny that you mentioned that, like, the way he does like the cinematography and the visual stuff, because like I feel like every Nolan film I can go to, I'm gonna get something different visually.
Yeah,
And again,
big set
in this
piece or
movie,
something.
yeah, in this
Yeah.
movie, like you feel like in days or in films nowadays, like you've seen it once, you've seen it all. Like
Mhm.
it's the same old. But like in this movie, there were certain sequences that were happening simultaneously that my brain was like reworking and thinking like, wow, I've never seen this before, and I would
Yeah.
never ever imagine this.
And that's why it's like for me, like obviously I enjoyed like I said the main character didn't connect to a bunch, but I really love his performance. That's the other thing too that some people were talking about. I saw reviews, a few people reviewed that there wasn't much humor in this. I feel like it is very
Oh,
serious, but
there was
tons of
humor in
jokes.
it,
Like, I
yeah.
don't understand. And like if people don't understand, it's the same. Like Nolan's humor is the same in all his movies. It's very dry and it's very small and subtle, and then they just move away. Like Morgan Freeman has so much humor in The Dark Knight. Like Inception has so much humor. This, I feel like near the back half it goes away. But same thing with Inception, it goes away because like the stakes are getting higher, so we don't have time to joke. But I feel like especially Pattinson's characters, the right amount, like him and John Dave Washington, like there's just a running gag Dave Washington has, and it's so good. And that's what I mean. Like any problems I had with the main characters, nothing with Washington. Washington, I really, really love. I almost feel like it's a reverse where in Inception, Dom has more of the character, and then Arthur is more of the like the cool, calm, collected. I feel like they kind of swap those with Pattinson and John Dave Washington. But to me, that's the same way. Like this is Nolan's James Bond, and James Bond, like he has some character development. Most of the time, he's just the cool ass lead, and I think John David Washington did that really good. But like you were saying, as far as even if I hated the characters, if there was terrible dialogue, I didn't like the score. If you take that all and just the sequences, you would just go, "Wow, that's a really cool sequence." It's the same way as like X-Men Apocalypse. Whoa, X-Men Apocalypse that I don't think is a great movie. It's like, oh, I got that cool Quicksilver sequence, or something like BVS. BVS, I don't think is a good movie, but there's many sequences like the Saving Martha thing where it's like, as far as a Batman fight scene, wow, this is incredible. This is the first time I've seen something like that. So same thing. If everything else sucked, but you had these great, like huge epic sequences, it's worth my $12.
Like Rogue One and a Darth Vader hallway scene.
100% though, like that same thing. I don't love that movie, but that's the thing where it's like, wow. I remember sitting in the theater being like, this is getting my heart pumping, and it was worth it and I don't think Rogue One's a bad movie, but that was worth the price of admission. The thing with Nolan is he has like 3 or 4 of those in the movie,
Yeah, he does.
and that's what I mean. Like I feel like each act has like 2 of them instead of 1. Like there's so many good sequences, and like I said, it has that James Bond feel. It has like a, I don't know, it has an Inception feel. It has kind of like what we've talked about Inception, almost like a, I'd say this is like his most, because you have Dark Knight that has like a pencil in the eye moment, but at times I feel like it's his most brutal kind of dark film. Like Prestige is really dark at times, but there's just like some really dark moments in this that are very unknown like, and I feel like this was him kind of doing his Bond, like I said, and that happens in Bond movies. So
I have 2 things.
go ahead.
So was
'Cause I
that
think I'm close.
was that Kick-Ass? Aaron Taylor Johnson, was that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think his performance was awesome. I really
Mm-hmm.
liked his character. The other thing too, and this isn't a spoiler because we see it in the trailer. If you're avoiding the trailers, then just, I guess, don't listen.
It's too late for
Yeah,
you.
but the plane sequence.
Yeah.
I 100% appreciate the fact that, like, I imagine it was a one shoot said and done thing,
yeah.
no CGI involved, because like just watching that whole thing, like I was, again, the cinematics, I was visually just stunned, like, wow, this is so cool to see this. I'll never see this in real life.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope I never see this in real life.
Let's hope not. And then our lives have changed. Then the pandemic really hit us.
Yeah, but it was so visually like crazy just to see this real live action setting with this plane and the events and sequences that unfold
Yeah,
from
and
it.
it's a great sequence. Not even just the plane, but everything that happens in that sequence is really well done. And there's some really good callbacks to things that I really enjoyed. So yeah, anything else?
I don't know. I'd just be, if I was like Christopher Nolan, I'd be so antsy doing that in one take. You know, it's just like everyone has to be on point and deliver because you're not getting. Well, maybe you're getting another plane, but it's gonna cost you an arm and a leg.
Yeah, it definitely is.
What was the budget for this movie? Do you know?
I think it was like 180 million or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty big. Nolan, after The Dark Knight, he kind of gets to write any check he wants. You know,
Yeah.
He changed everything. So, yeah, for me, it's tough because I haven't given my rating yet. I think I'm gonna go 9 out of 10, and that's why to me it sounds weird because it sounds like maybe I was a bit more negative, but it's just like Nolan's just bar to me is like 8 out of 10. So then when it's like great Nolan, it's 9 out of 10. Like I said, I'd say my pros, my cons are there's some dialogues I'll point out spoilers. That's what I kind of point out with the villain that I thought this scene didn't really work for me. I feel the exposition maybe on a second watch will be better, but I just don't feel it's as smooth as Inception or even Interstellar. I think there's a lot thrown at you in a very short amount of time with a lot of characters. So I think that could have done, because it was 2.5 hours, but I don't know how you would have went about it. But just even Inception, they would throw so much, but it felt very smooth. This at times just felt like, I'll get into it more in spoilers, but I think they kind of mixed two things at the same time, and that hurt them. Like I said, the sound design was great, but sometimes just too loud. And then I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh, and like I said, kind of my personal connection with the main character. I wasn't as invested in this because the best way I could say this is it's like a James Bond movie, so the mission is very much like a James Bond movie. I like Nolan's a bit more personal. Like that's why I'm always pimping out The Prestige is one of my favorite ones. But really, I thought it was a great movie. I'm excited to see it again. I really am excited to see it again. I'm not sure when, like I said, drive through. And I do think this is one because the first time I had to think about so much going on at the same time. Once you get Inception, that already was happening, but I had a better grasp on it. Like, okay, like I said, I think it was clear. This one, I've seen it 2 to 3, 4 times, and like everything's clear, and you talk to everybody and hear their theories, or you kind of get like the roadmap of this point A, point B, point C. I think I will enjoy it a lot more, and yeah, I think cast was phenomenal. Everyone did a really good job. I'm a big fan of Becky. I saw her from whatever show she did with Tom Hiddleston's, like The Night Manager or something. John Day Washington is just great in everything. Robert Pattinson's fantastic. So, yeah, any last thoughts?
Just I'm glad that we did this, even though I was only on 2 episodes of the Nolan retrospective. It reminded me and opened my eyes up to the fact that you need to be very observant watching this movie. There's like lots of like that Nolan-esque kind of thing
100%.
where there's the little tidbits
Every
of
detail
stuff.
counts.
Every detail counts, and I'm glad that I was able to be like, okay, like I'm on the lookout, and like I wanted to like nudge Madison and be like, oh, did you see that? Like that's preluding to something, you know,
yeah.
and it was fun to like pinpoint those things.
And I think maybe that's what people say is like safe because there's films I could compare this a lot to Inception, Prestige as far as there is things where if you look out, you know, you could maybe not finish the puzzle before it gets to the end, but you kind of know so it's like kind of a Nolan trope. But for me, that's kind of like filmmakers in general. Like Michael Bay has them, Tarantino has them, Scorsese has them. You know, like Snyder has and the Russos have them. Like directors, once they're directing quite a while, they get a style. They all kind of have that. Like Scorsese always has some like long walking sequence with music. He loves like tons of Rolling Stone songs. Like there's so much stuff. Like the characters are very similar in Scorsese as far as criminals and their trajectory. Like I feel that's where people might say it's safe as like, well, it follows those beats as far as Inception. It kind of does at times, but it just feels like it's in a whole new world and there's different set pieces and whatnot. That's what I appreciate. Same way as James Bond's films to have that. So I don't know. Again, I wouldn't call that safe. Does Nolan have some tropes? Sure, but that's again where it comes down to the viewer because I guess I just like those tropes. You know, those are the ones that hit me in the sweet spot. Like I said, my type of filmmaker is a Christopher Nolan filmmaker. So, Taylor, where can they find us on the interwebs?
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, you can find us as per usual with your internet connection, Geekverse Podcast on Facebook, Geekverse. You can find us Twitter, Geekverse Cast. Find us on our website, geekverse.ca. And
Podcast Network, Geek Ultimate Alliance. Now there's going to be 7 shows a week there, and then starting September, 8 shows a week. So hallelujah. Is that a shout to this?
8 shows a week? There's only 7 days in a week, Travis.
I know.
Oh, my
Doubling
God.
Up. We're growing over there. It's all because of your guys' support. Again, we didn't thank you on GV, but thanks for your support for DC Fandom. That episode did really well. The Batman trailer reaction we put out was 14,000.
14. It broke 10,000.
Yeah, crazy.
That tickles, or that scratches Travis's itch or whatever. Is that the term?
Sure.
Tickles
yeah.
his fancy.
Like it does. It tickles all everybody's fancy because you guys are just supporting us big time. So we appreciate that. And like we said, there'll be a spoilers version of this. New Mutants is coming later on, and then there'll be some other stuff down the line. At some point, we will do a Christopher Nolan ranking and rank all the films, which is I would love to see Tenet before that. I don't know if it again I could see it. Like I said, maybe next time I want to do a drive through. But if not, whenever you hear from next, will be a Tenet spoiler. So like I said, Tenet spoilers review. There's gonna be no 3, 2, 1. There's gonna be no non spoilers. If you've not seen the movie, if you don't want to hear spoilers, do not even click at it. Don't even look at it. Look at it. Delete it, and then when you see the movie, you can go to see all episodes on iTunes or Spotify and scroll up, and it'll be there waiting for you. You don't have to. You don't have to rush. You know, it'll be there. We'll always be there for you. So, and it won't be boring.
Bye bye.